doing the live dance. And hello, everybody. Welcome to MECHS, Magic, and Mayhem, interviews with sci-fi and fantasy authors. I am your host, Edie Sky, and I do that. I interview sci-fi and fantasy authors. Today, I have fantasy author Mel Todd on with me, who has a lot of fun stuff to share because you have a new book coming out in a few weeks. You just got back
coming out.
We were almost late because we were almost late starting because we were talking about makeup. So we may end up
TikTok
that conversation. Yeah, TikTok makeup. Yeah. But we may end up continuing that conversation on stream because I am fascinated by makeup. But anyway,
have you ever watched Face Off?
No, actually. Like, I've heard of it, but
yeah, it was an old sci-fi series, the TV channel, where they would do the special effects makeup.
Oh, yes, I do remember that now. For some reason, I was thinking of a sci-fi, like a fiction show, which it seems like there was a movie or something that had that title at some point.
I think that was John Travolta and Nicolas Cage. Yeah, no, I'm talking just the special effects makeup and stuff. And just watching people do prosthetics and everything else was just amazing.
I have been talking to you for a grand total of 10 minutes, and I already have like a million things I need to go look up. But I'm going to have you introduce yourself. But before I do that, I got to go down all the list of all of the podcast management things. First off, thanks to everybody who's watching. If you like any of the words you hear on this podcast, be sure to like, subscribe, or do whatever you have to do on wherever you're watching to get more of this. I am also going to be putting some links in the comments. These links are also in the show notes wherever you're watching. But this will be a link to Mel's latest book. We're also going to be giving away a signed copy of EXILES REFRAIN. I almost forgot the title there for a second. And so if you go into the comments in a second and fill that out, then you will be entered to win, and I will draw the winner tomorrow. Also, Mel, I, and a ton of other authors are currently involved in a massive giveaway. We're giving away, you're giving away a whole trilogy of books. I'm giving away a copy of Titan Mage, and then a bunch of our buddies are giving away all sorts of fantasy books. It's every flavor of fantasy. We've got military college. We've got giant robot smut. We've got
dragons.
Gaslamp fantasy, right? That's what yours is. And what is yours? Because
technically it's Victorian urban fantasy.
Okay,
so it's just urban fantasy set in Victorian England.
All right. So yeah, there's a whole variety of things. It's on Facebook, so you have to be on Facebook to enter, but I'm going to put all of those links in the chat just now. And but while I'm doing that, Mel, go ahead and give us the rundown of who you are, what you write, and then we will start talking about your latest book.
Well, the cat you see traipsing across the background is Gizmo.
Say Gizmo for me. You got to pet Gizmo for me sometime in the course of this.
At some point. Oh, look, she's going to come on over.
Yay!
Come here, Gizmo. Gizmo is one of the cat distribution cats.
Come here. Cat distribution cats are the best.
Cat distribution cat. This is Gizmo. And that's because when we got her, she was, of course, flea infested, because cat distribution cats always are. And so when she was soaking wet from being multiple flea blasts, she looked like Gizmo. With her ears and her face all wet and everything. But this is Gizmo.
I know the flea blast struggle.
I'm unimpressed with all of this. So
that's what Dazzle's like. Like Dazzle was a cat distribution cat too, and we found him with fleas and ringworm, which I think it was ringworm, which we discovered after we and the vets had all hugged on him, and so we all got intense baths that night and cleaned the house intensely. But yeah, he is rather indifferent to being on shows too, so he's not impressed with things.
I'm just not impressed. But hi, I am Mel Todd. I am a full-time author. I've been doing it full-time now this is my third year. I have about 40 plus some books out. It's like every time oh yeah, I have a lot, and that's not even including all the anthologies and everything else that I'm in. So I've been obviously writing for a while. I have multiple trilogies out, and then I live in the South, so I do a lot of conventions down here, and Dragon Con is the next big convention coming up, which I will be there, and I will be selling books, because why wouldn't I be selling books? I also now have cat fur on my lipstick.
Oh, no!
Because it's the middle of summer, and the cat sheds if you touch her.
Oh, yeah.
Because cats. Other than that, I own Badash Publishing, and I have one other author that writes for me. I'm very, very selective and Eddie knows this. Authors are pains in the ass. Major.
Yes, we are. I
And
feel
and I just looked at all of this and I'm like, there's only a few people that I want to deal with trying to cut royalty checks and dealing with the math because,
Mhm.
yeah,
Listen, I
math
write
and
with my
royalties.
husband and publish my husband, and even that is exhausting. So I
It is.
totally
It is.
get it.
Other authors are exhausting. They are.
Oh yeah, we are a fun bunch, but we are also an exhausting bunch. Oh, Michael Lawson's in the chat says, "Here, kitty, kitty." Yes, we have another
Oh,
cat.
yes, exactly.
All right. So today we are here to talk about Exiles Refrain, which comes out August 25th. Am I right?
Yes.
So we're
Yep.
talking about it a bit early. But Mel, go ahead, tell us what it's about.
Okay, so I have beautiful, beautiful books. Look at this.
I love that cover so much.
Look
Oh,
at
you
the
got the
pretty,
painted
pretty. Oh,
edges. Yes.
look at the edges. All the prettiness. So okay, the cover is actually what I want to talk about first. So this cover is when I was at Multiverse back in 2021, I think. Maybe nope, maybe 20. One of the two. The artwork called I and Aria was on in the art show competition. And I fell in love with the artwork and I fell in love with the artwork and I kept going back because it was not cheap. And I kept going back. And finally I put a bid on it and I won. Well, Galen Dara is the person who did it. And trust me, I have the artwork up above my door, right over there. Here, I can even the joy of cameras. See, look, there's the
Ooh.
artwork. So that I can look at it and remember what I'm writing. Well, I talked to her and I asked if I could license her IP so I could use it for covers. And she said yes. So we signed a contract and I paid her a couple years ago. But I had just stood and looked at that painting and looked at that painting. And every time I did, more and more story kept popping out. And so this is the book that came out of that painting. And really, if you read the book, you will look at the painting, and the more stuff you look at the painting, you realize is in the book.
Oh,
So the world is actually called Aria because it was Iron Aria was the name of it. But originally, I was just going to write basic epic fantasy with the main heroine, who of course has to, evolve. Yeah, that's what I got for thinking. I should never do that ever. What I instead ended up with was a tri-story of three people. I have 6 POVs in this novel, 6 different POVs, and it just amazed me because these characters just grew and evolved and twisted as I was writing it. And I was about 3/4 done with the story and writing it, and I'm like, I have no idea how this ends. I had no clue. I didn't know how they were going to succeed in rescuing the kids, if they were going to have to kill the god, what was going to happen after they killed the god, how do you kill a god, all of this. And everything just fell into place at the last minute. And I went, oh, well, that's the answer. So trust me, if you're going to tell me that you read the first couple chapters and knew what happened, more power to you, because I didn't have a clue. I didn't. But I tell you, it's been a lot of fun. One of the things that I did set out to do, because, and don't get me wrong, you see all of these books behind me. Those are all mine. There's a large number of epic fantasy in there. So you have dragons and elves and dwarves and orcs and stuff. This book doesn't have any of those.
Mhm.
I wanted to write an epic fantasy that didn't have any of the traditional fantasy races.
Mhm.
And so I have gods who have created their own people. They mutate their people to look the way they want them to look. The gods are possessive. And they aren't these far distant gods. They have houses and temples and stuff where they show up and talk to people and punish people and everything else. So it is definitely a different ride. But at the same time, it's epic as you can get, that journey across the world to undo a great wrong. And isn't that the definition of epic fantasy?
Oh yes. Yes, yes, yes. I like different fantasy. Like I'm very much a reader who will sometimes look for specific tropes when I read, but every now and
Mhm.
then I absolutely want something that strikes me as completely original or completely unlike anything I've ever read. Where you can clearly see that the author had fun with this world and had fun going outside the lines. And this sounds like one of those.
Oh yeah, no, this went way outside the lines.
All right. Now, one thing I'm beginning to ask people to do on the show, just a new little feature, is actually inspired by how I market my books and some of the most effective ways that I have learned to market my stuff. And so I spoke with Mel before the podcast, and we came up with some answers in advance. But the three things that I'm going to start asking my authors to do on the show is to, number one, tell me, I want you to describe your book in 5 words or less. And the key reason for this is that some of the most successful marketing I have ever done has just been absolutely yelling 5 words across a con to someone who looks like they would like my book. And it's amazingly effective. Another technique that I use is simply posting an out of context quote. So I'll be asking authors if they want to bring an out of context quote that just makes people go, "What? I got to read more of this." And then there's also there's the very simple pick a scene or pick a short excerpt from your novel that makes someone absolutely want to pick up the rest of the book. And I cannot remember which one or ones you said you wanted to do, and so I am going to leave that to you.
I always find it hard to do that last one because what I think is a good scene isn't always what somebody else is going to listen here is a good scene. But okay. And you did not tell me my 5 punchy words had to be a correct sentence. So this is not a correct
Oh,
sentence.
this is
It's
fine.
just
As
five
long as it
words.
is attention getting, you are good.
They're attention getting. Castration, insanity, vengeance, murder, imprisonment.
You had me at castration, though mostly for fascination. It's like that definitely fits the criteria of what? But why
Well,
these
I
5
mean,
words in particular?
well, one of the main characters, Note, he is the guy on the back of the book. That's Note. The country that captures him are capturing him and all of his people because they can sing. And he was basically castrated as a young boy so that he can keep that perfect voice.
I
And
see.
if you know history, you know about the castrati and everything else. So it's a thing that's actually been done throughout human history. No, this is not me being a fan of it. But it's also one of the ones that it has a very visceral reaction when you think
Mm.
about it, because
Oh, yeah.
it means you are cutting off body parts, and those are usually body parts that people want to keep.
Yes.
So that one, insanity, simply because there's multiple levels of it. I mean, you have to be a little insane to go against a god, especially a god who's also going insane.
Oh, yeah, that definitely complicates things.
Yeah, it complicated a lot of stuff. Vengeance, because, well, isn't that what every good epic fantasy has? I mean, you got to get paid back for the wrongs done to you. The murder one, okay, you remember me telling you that I didn't know where the story was going?
Uh-huh.
There's like halfway, not even halfway. I'm like literally writing some of like the last 5 chapters of the book, and all of a sudden this huge epiphany occurred, and I sat back and went, "Oh my gosh, that explains everything." And it had
Yes.
never occurred to me at all. And then I went back and looked at everything I wrote, and I went, "Oh, no, this is what it is." And I don't wanna tell people because it totally gives away this massive twist at the end that your insane god isn't exactly what you think he is.
Mhm.
And so
Ah,
that was a lot of fun. And then imprisonment, because for those of us who are really familiar with the Greek legends, we remember that the Greek gods overthrew the Titans, Kronos, and basically imprisoned their parents. Well, I did a mimic of that with this, where these gods, the ones you're dealing with, imprisoned their parents. And
mhm.
you know what? I am a big believer in double tap. I tell you, you never ever want to be in a life or death situation for me because I don't believe in tying them up and leaving them behind. I believe in double tap and then moving on. So,
Yeah, it
just
removes the
saying.
potential future threats.
Yes, I'm very, very happy about that. So those are the 5 words I came up with because I figured they basically are like, okay, wait, I need to find out more what's going on with all of those.
Yes, success. All right. Did
Okay,
you have an out of context quote?
I do.
All right.
There is one who finally had enough rage to threaten his own gods.
Ooh, that is a really good quote. Who is the one with the rage?
Note.
Or is yes, I am curious about Note because I was reading the blurb right before I came in here, and everyone else has a pretty clear origin because there's one who is a former warrior, there's another who is what, a traitor, I think, yeah, and
Yep.
then Note is just the survivor whose scars run deeper than the ocean. I love that because it's mysterious and somewhat non-specific, but for that reason also very very attention getting. So
Well, I mean, think about it. No matter what, castration leaves scars, and the emotional scars are going to make almost everything else pale in comparison.
mhm.
So that's note. Okay, now you want me to read aloud. Oh, I should have practiced this more.
Oh, you're fine.
I tell you, I stumble over words when I'm reading stuff. I can talk in public just fine, never even think about it, but if I have to read something, I'll stumble. Okay, again, this is the main character in Note, so this is Jadaya, and then Note. Jadaya shrugged as a scent caught her nose. I smell cinnamon, she said with a slow smile. Cinnamon? Note asked, looking at her. It's a favorite from home, a ground spice we use. She knew she was smiling, but just the smell reminded her of good times. The chosen as children getting treats, the cakes and cookies on holy days, the smells of the kitchens. Without conscious choice, she followed her nose towards the smell. She was a full hand taller than most people, and she ignored the look she got, enjoying the ability to move through the crowd as people tended to move out of her way. There, that sign is in Zoot. Her joy leaked out and she resisted the urge to run. It was too crowded, but now the crowds made her even more impatient. They wove through the crowds until they reached the booth. A tall Zukian was working behind a counter, making dough cooked in boiling oil, then dusting it with cinnamon and white beet juice powder. He was the dark black of charcoal, and his hair was in tiny braids instead of the twists that Jadea did her hair in. His lanky muscles and the way they moved almost made her want to cry in familiarity. Zalo! She said with excitement, slipping into Zoot from Ged. The man's head jerked up, dark eyes searching for the speaker, and his eyes found hers as she closed the last few steps to his counter. A smile spread across his face, and then his eyes locked on the brand on her left cheek. He blinked. Then his face lost all joy, and he went back to cooking, not even looking at her. Zalo? She said again, this time slower, as pain wrapped around her heart, slowly climbing up her throat. No reaction. Am I missing something? Note asked, stepping forward. Hey, she is speaking to you. The man raised his head and looked at Note, a smile crossing his face that Jadea knew had no joy in it. His eyes were blank. Morning. Can I interest you in the cloud dough? I have cinnamon, a specialty for my country, red and white beet juice powder, ground nut spread, both types, or even some fruit preserves. Not once as he spoke did he even glance at Jadea. Note looked back and forth between her and the man. She is the one who wants something. The man just widened his smile a bit, looking only at Note. Are you sure there is nothing here that calls to you? They are the best cloud dough in the market, and the only one with cinnamon. Jadea blinked rapidly to keep the tears back. The rage at what she had lost helped push it back. Exile, Note. He will never acknowledge my existence. I am nothing. I no longer exist.
Oh.
And I want to point out I found 2 typos reading that.
No! Oh my gosh, is that not the worst feeling? But you found them before the release, though. That's what counts. I was like,
see this?
oh, true. You could always do subsequent fixes for later editions, I suppose.
Oh, always. That has to be probably one of the biggest advantages with Amazon and KDP.
Oh, yeah.
Is you go, oh, upload, fixed.
Yep. That's one of my favorite things about self-publishing too, because with my husband's trad books, once a book is printed, it's done because the publisher has all the other stuff they've got to work on. But with our indie stuff, like I love it. Well, I hate it when readers send us typos because it means there's a typo in the book. But I love it when they inform us because it's a matter of making a simple fix and just re-uploading it in the course of 5 minutes when you're indie. And that's really nice. And I always I will put all this effort into editing a book, and on release day, I will open the book and find something like on the first or second page. It never fails. And so it's like, even with all that editing, it manages to come in. Oh, it's Richie. He says, I came in at the right time. Yes, you did, Richie. Of course, it's always the right time for Richie. It's a party now. But about your scene, I was going to say, I really, really like that scene because, first off, you had me at cinnamon. Like, I heard that and I like both of those flavors and immediately wanted that in my mouth. Like,
Oh yeah, your mouth is like,
I
oh, that would be amazing.
yes, I want to try this cloud dough. But then, of course, the way it evolves, it's like by the time we get to the end, like I almost feel I have to keep looking. Jadaya,
Jadea.
I can feel her rage by the end of it because it's you take this really really mundane pleasure and then she can't even get access to it because
Yep.
of how she's being treated, and it's just like, ah. And that's actually a really good lead in to talk about her character because I want to talk about the three main characters. I also want to talk about how you juggled 6 points of view because what kind of planning does that take? Like, how do you even manage that? I get stressed
Oh,
thinking about
actually,
that.
no. That compared to my Nobles Left trilogy, where all three books are happening at the same time with the characters interacting with each other through all three books, where I had to make sure that if I changed dialogue in one scene where the other character was there, I had to go find that sentence in the other book and then make sure
Oh
all
yeah.
of the dates lined up so that if I said it was going to take her 2 hours to get somewhere, I couldn't have the character in the other book meeting her 15 minutes later.
Uh I want to
Six
read the series
POVs was
now though,
simple.
just to see how you accomplish that because that takes an incredible attention to detail. I don't have that attention to detail. So I'm absolutely going to read that series now.
I
Just
also specifically, her name is, oh God, how come when you want to pull an editor's name, I will give you the editor's name later. It's Adrienne, and I cannot pull her last name in, but she specializes at doing timeline editing. And
ah,
so I paid her to do that. And she found a lot of them where you're like, okay, you're a day off here. And you
that's
have to go figure out where do you fix this so that you get your days of the week back in sync.
I didn't even know timeline editors were a thing. That's awesome. I learned something
It's a
new every
thing, and she was worth every penny because after you're writing, especially since I wrote relatively long books, they were 100,000 words for each book. And realizing on one book you have them doing something on Thursday, and the other book you have them doing it on Wednesday, and then
Mhm.
having to go back through the book to fix everything so they end.
Oh, man. All right, let's talk about
Okay.
Jadaya. Now, according to the back of the book, she is a cast out warrior branded by her former goddess. So she's got some story. So let's hear about her.
Okay, so Jadea. Okay, I might back up first
Jadaya.
though and tell you who Jadea is. Back in 2016, I was still working at AT&T, and one of my coworkers, her daughter, Jadea, was killed in a car accident
Oh.
at 18. She was supposed to graduate in a week from high school.
Hmm.
And it was just a car accident, nothing. She spun out on a stormy road. 30 days later, my husband was killed.
Oh no.
And so her mother and I did a lot of bonding because there's just something about that level of grief,
Hmm.
especially when you're in a relatively small office. There's like only 20 people in our office. We sat relatively close to each other. And so when I started coming up with this story, I asked her if I could use Jadea as the main character's name. And so that's where I got Jadea from. So if you read the Exile Magnet, it is something that I know Eddie put up in the link, and you can
In the
get it for
comments.
free and read about her backstory. But basically, her gods will collect the best of the kids and train them up to be their servants in their palace. And I mean everything from guards to cooks to bedfellows to everything. And she had a pretty good life until she broke one of their cardinal rules and at the same time fell afoul of somebody wanting something. And it was easier to get her out of the way.
Mm.
Well, when they did that, they branded her. And that's what, in the book, occasionally I'll talk about brand as they put a brand on her face so that anybody who ever saw her knew that she was exile. And that meant that as far as anybody from her country, Zuyika, they will treat her as if she doesn't exist. She's not even dead. She just doesn't exist. And the punishment was getting whipped, lashed. And then they basically threw her on a ship. And she ends up in the country of Eos, which is where Note lives. And she's lost. I mean, remember, this is a world where the gods are personal, where you could walk up and call their name and have them come visit you, and she has no gods.
Mm.
And she's trying to figure out what to do with her life when the only thing she's been trained to do is be a warrior.
Ah.
And then slavers attack.
Ah, she cannot get a break.
Well, but that's what starts everything,
Mm.
is it throws her into deciding, why not? I might as well go and try to change this thing, because the worst that's going to happen is I'm going to die, and I don't have anything to live for.
Mhm.
And as the story goes, she actually finds out that she has a lot to live for, and that the world around her is worth staying in.
Mm.
So that is Jadaya. She is very tall. She think of and I always hate using stereotypes because again, she's not human. But if you think of the African, usually Nigerian runners that you'll see in marathons, where they're just like all leg and arm, just
Mhm.
that lanky muscle that just doesn't quit. That's her.
Yeah.
She's just all legs and arms and just muscle that doesn't quit for days.
Did you say she's not
And
human? So she's a different fantasy race or a made up fantasy race or
none of them are human.
Oh, okay.
They're because it's a different planet. It's a
Oh, alright.
different planet, and the people who were created on that planet, the gods then took and twisted them even more to be.
I
So
see.
there's I worked very hard and checked multiple times to make sure I'd never use the word human
Huh?
in the book,
Oh, that puts a
because they're not.
fascinating twist on the whole story.
Yeah, it is technically, in many ways, honestly, it could be science fiction, and it
Mhm.
could be marketed as science fiction,
Oh.
especially given how I ended.
Uh-huh. Oh, I'm extra intrigued now. So other than being created and modified by their gods, how are they different from humans?
Most of them, or all of them, are still humanoid. So one head, two
Mm.
arms, two legs, etc. But like some of them have scales. Some of
Okay.
them, uh, one of the races, the Viklanders, they don't wear shoes because their feet are so wide and tough that
Mm.
even frostbite or frostbite or lava isn't going to affect them because their feet have become like hooves.
Mhm.
Um,
Ah.
Before she was stripped of her abilities, she had the ability to do telescopic vision, so she could like either focus in far away or stuff for hunting. Notes race, the Aeosans have gills, so they can breathe underwater. So then there's a wide variation just depending on what the gods wanted. One of the
Mhm.
races you run into, the Vivekans, if you look at them, your immediate response is going to be like, well, some sort of Asian, Chinese, Japanese, whatever.
Mhm.
Except when you realize they have no irises, pupils, or whites
Ah.
in their eyes. Their eyes are just solid black,
Mhm.
which is kind of creepy because I've always thought that's like the creepiest special effect. It's just that's totally black eyes. But it's just one of those things where every race is slightly different. Now, they can all crossbreed, but if you choose to leave your people and go someplace else, that god has to take you in and will then start to warp you to match closer to what
Oh,
their people look like. The
I see.
gods are possessive gods.
So do the gods like actively change people after they're born? Okay, yeah.
Well, anymore, no,
Mm.
because all of this happened, of course, thousands of years ago. So somebody who is born Aosan is going to be born fully Aosan. But if somebody decides to leave their people and marry into an Aosan, the gods will start to change them. And it's not
Mhm.
as drastic. They don't like overnight look like one, but a lot of their features will change. Their skin color will change. Their um, physical structure of their body might change depending on where they go and what they do.
Mhm.
So
Cool.
they're
Now we haven't
possessive gods.
we've spoken about I keep forgetting how to pronounce her name. Jadea?
Judea, yeah.
Jadea. All right, I finally got it right. We've talked about Jadea. We've talked about Note. We haven't talked all that much about Rylix. So let's talk about him.
So originally, Rylix just started out as somebody where I just needed a guide, and I kind of thought he wasn't going to be that huge of a part until, of course, I started writing him. That's always a
One of
mistake.
those. Yep.
And then the wonderful John Hartness did a developmental edit on this book for me because it was so big and it's not the sort of stuff I normally write. I really needed somebody to go through and tell me where I was screwing up. And he pointed out that everybody else in the books, all of the other points of view characters, which is Zane and Lazul and Shanala and stuff, that all of them had a back end motivation pushing them through, and Rylix didn't. And I went, oh, I can change this. And so I gave him motivation. I made it rather than him being in Eos as just a traitor, he had been exiled to Eos as a traitor for a stupid mistake. And his is probably the only backstory that I don't actually lay it out completely what he did. But basically, what I came up with is he was 20, he was stupid, he was all proud and hopped up about the fact that he had just gotten a new trade route and everything, and he was supposed to be watching one of his younger cousins and was too busy bragging and goofing off with his friends. And
Ah.
she drowned.
Mm.
And it's one of those where everybody knows he didn't do it on purpose, but you still end up losing, especially his family is very clan and trader based. You still end up losing all of your reputation and everything. And so his punishment was 5 years basically being ignored.
Mhm.
And so when he comes back, a lot of his driving is trying to forgive himself for that mistake. And anybody who's ever watched kids knows for an absolute fact that you can close your eyes for a
Oh, yeah.
second and the child can disappear.
They are amazing
And oh
sneaky.
God, how the heck can toddlers run so
I
fast?
know! It's like my sister has a 3-year-old, and I love this kid to death, but sometimes I get so anxious around her because she's got places to be and she's gonna go, and she doesn't
Yes.
understand how parking lots work yet. And it's like, so I've gotta like I'm always like trying to hold this kid's hand and whatnot because it's like they don't know.
They disappear. So
And they move
the
so fast.
odds are it's always possible that even if he had been paying attention, she still might have drowned, as anybody who's ever dealt with the joy of swimming pools without fences
Mm,
can tell you. But it does a nice background reason for him to, and then the more he gets into it, the more he realizes that maybe he can make a difference
mm.
and maybe he can stop this institutionalized slavery that's going on.
Right.
And if he dies, well, it's going to be a heck of a story to tell.
So let's talk about characters in general. I always
Mhm.
like to ask, who was your favorite character to write, and who was the most challenging character to write?
I'll start with the easy question first. The most challenging was Zane. Zane is the mortal bad guy in the book. The Mad God Zyle never has POV chapters, but Zane does. Since I don't know how badly censored, just think high ranking Catholic priests in the 50s and 60s,
Mm,
if that tells you the sort of person he is.
right.
So he delights in his rewards to himself because he doesn't see the people he's hurting as having enough value to make it worth it. But at the same time, he's also the pivotal person because he is the head priest for Zyle's worship in this country. So he is the person who gets to control how they respond to the god, how they keep the god pacified, how they make sure that everything's going well so the god doesn't destroy the country. And I don't even mean that in a, oh, the gods can get mad. There's literally one scene where the god is causing earthquakes and tornadoes to tear through and destroy things. And everything that they do that his job is based off of is keeping the god pacified.
Ah,
So he's both absolutely horrible, but at the same time, he has this duty that he has to
mm,
fill to try to keep everybody safe, especially himself. There's
right.
a very selfish attitude
Oh,
about
yeah.
it. So he was by far the hardest because it's very, one of my failings as a writer is I'm not good at writing very, very horrible people. because
Oh, I struggle with
intrinsically
that too.
I want to be nice to everybody. I
Same.
mean, and it's like there was a meme or something that went through a couple years ago about them interviewing women up north, saying, "Well, could you kill somebody?" And that person's like, "Oh, I don't know if I could kill somebody." And I've been like, "Yeah, not an issue. I don't have an issue." I'm like,
Southern women had a completely different response to
completely
that
different
question.
response. But I mean, I grew up very, very country, very redneck, everything. If you have done something to cross my lines, no, I have zero issue killing you. This isn't an issue. But like, let's say I had to do something truly, truly horrible, like torturing an animal.
Mm,
I'd be looking at you going, no, why?
yeah,
I don't understand. I don't, I'm not good at putting myself in the mindset of somebody who would get any joy out of that.
right.
And so it sometimes makes my bad guys be a little bit lackluster because I don't know how to write doing something truly horrible and having them delight in it.
Right.
Because even for me, I might be able to kill somebody, but I'm just double tap. There's not
Yeah.
no Saw, no
It's a
Hannibal Lecter, none of that.
it's a practical thing more so than a thing one does for enjoyment.
Exactly. So that was really hard for me to try to make this person horrible enough that you are absolutely happy when everything comes to a close at the end, but at the same time, still be able to write him and have him carry the plot through.
Mhm.
And I mean, it is something I've got to work on because I've got to make my bad guys have really, really good reasons for doing what they do. And I'm not always good at that because I'm not good at going. I'm the person who, if I'm walking up to the grocery store and somebody's done with their cart, I'll say, "Oh, I can take the cart for you,"
Same here.
because there's no reason not to. There's no reason for me not to be nice. So trying to write somebody who's horrible, that was hard. Oddly, the person I had the most fun writing isn't even a point of view character. So Lazul is the king, and all of his advisors are on him. You got to get married. You got to get married because we need heirs. Okay, because your parents died not too long ago. You don't have kids. If you die, we have a massive issue. And so he's doing this tour with Zane, the bad guy, to meet eligible women as he goes through. The whole, oh, come meet my daughter, come meet my niece, all of this fun stuff. And they keep introducing like these 18, 20-year olds to him. And he's just like, really, I would like somebody with a little bit of adult stuff so I could talk to them, please? Because he's in his like mid to late 30s. And they're like, well, she needs to be able to give you children. And he's like, last time I checked, somebody in her 30s and 40s can do that too. And so I was like, well, he's going to need somebody to help him when all this bad stuff. So her name is Haun. It's Hayune, Haun. And I just was going to write her as this, just somebody to keep every. Yeah, no, that woman grabbed that story and ran away with it. She ended up
I'm
becoming his spy master.
I'm sensing a theme.
And she blossomed. She stepped into this role of being the not queen, and that's literally what she's referred to through half the book, is because she's fulfilling the role of the queen, but she's not the queen because he can't marry her yet, but
Mm,
she's taking care of everything. And she just stepped in, and it's this. And anybody who's read my stuff knows I don't tend to write a lot of romance because refer
mm.
back to husband being killed. It's this really slow burn, two people trying to do their best for their country and slowly falling in love as they do it.
Ah.
And I mean, it's just these little tiny moments of absolute tenderness and
Mhm.
then getting back to trying to solve this huge world-shaking drama that's approaching them. And so no, she oddly became one of my favorites, and I didn't really expect it because she doesn't have a POV, but when she's there, she totally takes over the scenes.
Surprise favorites, well, are my favorite characters because it's just do you find that you're one of the writers where your characters more often than not, like, once they pop into your head fully formed and they just write the story? Yeah, that's me
And
too.
then they tell me what they're going to do, and I'm like, but the plot point says you're going
Yep.
this direction, and they're like, yeah, that's nice, we're going this way. And I'm like, Okay.
I have to compromise with my characters, so I will work from very very skeletal outlines, and I will basically say, okay, guys, you have to accomplish this plot point by the end of this chapter. I don't care how you do it, but as long as you accomplish that one thing, you're good to go for today. You can do whatever you want, and that often like it leads to some really really fun places. Like I'm the sort of writer where I need just enough structure to hinge my thinking upon, because otherwise it just goes crazy and unwieldy. But that structure has really worked for me. But my characters are absolutely characters who write themselves, and they're so fun.
Well, usually what I try to do is I always know what the inciting incident is because
Mhm.
that's literally what starts the book. So I always know that. And then there's a process called the story engine where you basically have three game-changing moments and the characters are reacting. So usually I try to make sure I know what those three game-changing moments are and we work towards them. The number of times I've had to rewrite those game-changing moments because they solve them in the first couple chapters, I'm like, well, is that gonna work?
Ah,
I mean, because so I literally I'll have to like I get like 15 chapters into a book. I'm like, okay, let's go back. Oh, well, that game changing moment has changed because they added this in and this came out of nowhere. So I guess we aren't doing that. And right now I'm working on a new series and I realized that I need to lay out each character or forces um, goals and motivations and make sure that they're all going like this. So that what this person's trying to do is a direct conflict to this person and this person. And so I'm trying to finish writing all of this out to make sure I understand what all of their goals and motivations are for this entire series. Even though each book, the goal of each book is like parts of this overall goal.
mhm.
It's exhausting and I just want to start writing it. But I know that if I just start writing it, halfway through I'll be beating my head on my desk because I have no idea what they're trying to do or why.
Yep, the struggles of being a
But I
writer.
want to go play. I want to go play. I want to go start playing in this world because I've got it really laid out and it's cool and I can't go play yet.
Oh,
It's very,
well,
very sad.
we're almost to the top of our hour already. But
Oh my
before,
God.
like, I wanted to talk about Africa because you went to Africa recently. Okay, and
I
I
did.
need to hear all the stories because that is a continent that I haven't been to, and I need to hear everything you did. So, first off,
Okay.
why'd you go to Africa?
Why not?
A reason as any?
So I grew up totally loving Tarzan. Okay. I've read every Tarzan book ever. I have always loved all of them. So Africa has always just been this almost mystical place for me. I do quite a bit of traveling, and most of the time I'm more than willing to go by myself. I've gone to Italy, I've gone to Norway, I've gone to Sweden, I have gone to Greece. I have no problem just going and figuring it out. Africa, I wasn't willing to do that by myself, mainly because it is one of those areas of the world where the boundaries and the laws and the cultures are just shifting way more than I feel comfortable trying to
Mhm.
navigate. And
Yeah.
I'm like, no, this one, I want a guide. I want somebody who could, when they're demanding something at the border, somebody knows how to deal with it.
Mhm.
So the other issue is since most of the time I travel by myself, getting into tour groups is always kind of a pain because most of the time it's couples, which is fine. There's not an issue with that. But it leaves all of these pairs and then me. And that's just, it's really hard, especially when you're going to some place as amazing as Africa. You want to talk to people. Well, a travel guide, blogger, whatever I've followed for a while, said she was doing her Africa trip and she only does women and it's 16 women. And I went, that sounds perfect because I figured, even if there happened to be a lesbian couple or two, women tend to interact more with other women than
Mhm.
male female pairs do, which is fine. That's just human nature. So I went and did that. We went to Namibia, Botswana, Zimbabwe, and Zambia. It was amazing. There was a lot more bus riding than you would have expected.
Mhm.
But one of the first things we did is I stayed at it's like a rescue lodge called Nanakuse, and we got to do a behind the scenes carnivore feeding. Okay. Anybody who knows me knows I am all about the cats. I am not subtle about it. I am all about the cats. I want to see the cats. Well, so they took and we got to see them, and these are all rescue animals. They're not, they're ones that for one reason or another they can't release, etc. But so we got to have the guide take us, and he was feeding them because they get their evening feedings. A leopard, um, cheetahs, and a caracal. And
Ooh.
anybody who's read my series, Twisted Luck, knows that I based Carillion off of a caracal. And so I have a video of this caracal jumping 12 feet in the air to grab the food the guide was holding up over this 12-foot fence. And he just boing
I didn't
down.
even realize they could jump that high.
Oh my gosh, and
That's
it
like
just, it wasn't even effort. There was not even any effort. It was just a whoosh, got the food. Thank you very much, and trot away. So, I mean, one of the weirdest things is normally when we go, it is going from summer into fall because I went in our spring, so it's the opposite. Normally, they're like, okay, we're going to go to this watering hole and this watering hole so we can see the animals. It had been raining so much that the lakes were filled, the
Mm.
rivers were huge. I mean, we went to Victoria Falls and they tell you can get a poncho. And I'm like, oh, I don't need one. I can handle a little water. I tell you, I have been in showers where I have gotten less wet.
Oh my
It was
gosh.
standing in a rainstorm for 2 hours. That was how heavy the spray off the falls was. They're like, "We have never seen it this full." We were up at some rocks, and it started raining right after we got down, and so you're watching waterfalls go over these dry desert rocks.
Oh man.
It was amazing. We did a boat cruise where we saw elephants and hippos, and we saw, 2 white rhinos and a black rhino.
Mm.
Oh, and I finally got my answer. Oh my gosh, this has been driving me up the wall. Anybody who's ever seen a white or a black rhino knows that they're not white. They're both kind of gray colored.
Mhm.
And I was like, why are they called white and black? It was driving me up the thing is they it's a mistranslation from what people heard and what it was. So there's 2 types of rhino. So the black rhino has a hook snout and it's more of a branch and eats shrubs and stuff. So it's a hook. The white rhino has a wide, flat mouth and it is more of a grazer. And so when they were naming them, somebody heard wide and went with white, which makes much more sense to me because they're not white. What's driving me crazy. But by far, and if you go through my Facebook feed, it's worth it. My Facebook feed is public. You can see it. We did a game drive like the second to last day we were there in Chobe National Park. Oh, and here's the other thing that just was a total brain break for me is if you're American, you've lived in North America, we have a lot of national forests, we have a lot of national parks, you drive into them. Sometimes you're in and out of them without even realizing it. All of them in Africa are surrounded by electric fences.
Mm.
All of them. And I mean, this isn't a little 100-acre. These are tens of thousands of hectares that are all surrounded by electric fences.
What's
And
the reason
that's
for
still
the
just
fences?
poachers.
Nah, yeah. I
You know,
figured.
poachers, and then they still have free roaming lions and leopards and everything. So it's also to try to keep at least some of them out from some of the more populated areas. Doesn't
Mhm.
always work,
Yeah.
but we're doing this game drive, and they're like, "Hey, they saw a bunch of lions." And so they're like, "Okay," and we go, and we see the lions, and we're like, "Oh, okay." And we're standing up in our little jeepy things and looking over at them, and then they're like, "Oh, hey, here they come." Okay, my Jeep is sitting right here. And by Jeep, I mean it's like this truck with the back cut off and seats. So there's like 4 rows of seats of 3 each, and I'm in the back. And this entire pride of lions walks down the road towards me. And I'm sitting there with my iPhone videotaping it, going, "You can't lean over and touch them. You can't lean over and touch them," because I could have. They got so close to me, they kept having to unzoom and they walked right by the Jeep. So if I had just leaned over a little bit, I could have petted the top. I want people to be impressed with my willpower because the desire to lean over and it was, and they were cubs. There was a bunch of cubs, there was some teenagers, and then a couple lionesses. But the desire to lean over and pet these guys was just, I'm literally chanting to myself, you can't lean over and pet them, you can't lean over and pet them. So no, it was, I mean, I'm not going to say it was life changing, but it was so wonderful to see so many animals in the wild. The women that I got to meet and hang with from all walks of life. We had some who were as young as their late 20s, and then there was Linda. Linda was over 70, still did yoga every single morning, was in better shape than the rest of us put together. I want to be Linda because Linda was freaking amazing.
It is my aspiration to be that active at that age.
Oh, she was amazing. She was getting up in the morning and doing yoga and climbing in and out of all of these jeeps without even blinking. I want to, and traveling to Africa by herself at 70 plus. I want to be Linda when I grow up.
Oh, by
So
the way,
no,
guys,
Africa was a blast.
it sounds like an amazing trip. I forgot to say it at the beginning of the podcast, but if you guys have any questions for Mel, feel free to put them in the comments. But and I'll get to them if they pop up. But we are going to start wrapping up. So what I want to ask is where are you going to be con or signing wise if people want to get a signed book from you?
Okay, so I have a really busy schedule. I have 10 panels, but I have both a booth in the dealer's hall on the second floor, but I will also be at the Gather. And the Gather by far is the best place to show up to meet all of your favorite authors, because not only will I will be there, Marissa Wolf will be there, Casey Azell will be there, Jasmine Walt will be there. I mean, you name it, that person, if they are an author at Dragon Con, will be at the Gather. And the Gather is Friday night from 8 until midnight. You have to have a badge to get in, but at that point, there is going to be a cash bar, and you will get to talk to all of us. And we are all more than willing to tell you about our books or sign them and convince you to buy other books and convince you to buy our other authors' books. Because one of the great things about knowing, and honestly, I think it's probably one of the best things about indie authors, is a lot of us know each other and we read each other's books.
Yep.
So if you come to me and say, oh, I really want something like Fourth Wing, I'm going to be like Melissa Olthoff right over there, Rise from Ruin, go get it right now. Oh, I really like some of the lit RPG, but I like Shadow decks. Casey Azell right over there, Shadow Card Guardian, go get it. Because we do read each other, and that's half the fun, is just because I might not have exactly what you're looking for, trust me, I probably know who does. Like, if you want really hot monster sex, this lady called Edie Sky is exactly who you should be paying.
That is one fun thing about our author community, though. Like, there are some authors out there who tend to view writing and publishing as a competition, and it's absolutely not. Like, readers are voracious. They're not going to pick one book a year and stick with that book. They're always looking for new stuff, and so I always love to promote other authors. I mean, it's one of the key reasons why I do this. And
okay, look, I read a lot. I just got done reading this fanfic. It was a really good Harry Potter fanfic. There was 750,000 words.
What? That's huge.
It took me 5 days.
What? That's fast.
Oh, I read really fast. I am a relatively fast writer. When I'm writing, I write about 1,000 words every 20 minutes. Okay?
Wow.
I don't care.
I'm in
awe.
Camera.
Nobody can write as fast as I read. So no, it is not a competition. It is a, oh, hey, you're done with my book? Awesome. Try this person and this person and this person and this person. And then when you're done with those, come back and I will tell you how far along I am with the book I'm working on.
I have to ask, since you write that fast, are you a typer or a dictator, or how do you
I type.
Get them down? Okay, yeah, so you're just very fast at typing.
Well, I mean, remember, I also spent 30 plus years in the corporate world. At one point, I was writing 65, 70 words a minute, just because that was literally my job. Now, I've been playing more with dictation. The biggest flaw I have found with dictation is that it does not like fantasy words at all. The amount of times I have to go back and fix spellings for like Carillion, Andon, Jadaya, and it's like at some point you're like, I spend more of my time fixing it because and if somebody knows of this, oh my gosh, please tell me. I haven't figured out a way to train any of the dictation software that when I say this word, it should be spelled like this,
Mm.
except for probably Dragon Speaking, but I haven't wanted to pay for Dragon
Dragon.
Speak? Dragon?
It's a great piece of software, but it is pricey. I tried using it during a period where I was trying to teach myself to dictate, and I just discovered that I don't think as well when I dictate. It takes me longer, and some of
What's
it's just lack of practice. But
the thing that I found interesting is that I do fight scenes better when dictating.
Mhm.
Mainly because it's like I can go, okay, Corey ducked, lifted her hands up over her head, glaring at because I can sit there and act it out as I'm
Yes,
talking through what they're doing. That actually works really, really well with dictation.
that makes
What
sense.
doesn't work well with dictation is when I'm doing like this tricky conversation and I have to like go, okay, wait, what word would they use here? Because you're like trying to like make sure that you get the right power. And so that matters more when you're doing that sort of stuff. Whereas when I'm doing the action sequences, my word, the types of words I use are much more limited, if that makes sense.
Right.
I'm not looking for the perfect way to enunciate something. I'm trying to say she ducked.
Mhm. Right. Ah, well, I think we are at the top of our hour now. So
We
I think,
are.
yeah, this has been fun. I'm gonna have to, you release a lot of books, so you're definitely gonna be on here again. Do you have another one coming out this year, or is this your one for the year?
Oh, no, no. I have two others that are done. I'm just editing them. I'm You remember that bright, shiny new world? I'm
Yep.
probably gonna so I've been trying to write in trilogies for a couple reasons. A, it's much easier to write a complete trilogy, put it out, and see if people like it. And if they like it, awesome, I'll write another trilogy. Or if people don't like it or it misses, okay, great. The story's wrapped up, so the people who have read it aren't going to be upset that I'm not finishing it.
Yep.
So I'm trying to convince myself to finish the trilogy that I have the first two books done before I go write the new shiny. I don't know if this is going to work because the new shiny is calling my name very, very, very loudly. But when I can actively focus, which is not always, I can easily do 60 to 70,000 words a month. I
Whoo!
just have to be sitting down and actually, but remember, I also do this full time.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, one of the things that I find most amusing is the number of people who know I'm a full time author, but still want to call me at 10 in the morning to just chat. And I'm like, what
Oh,
part of working did you miss? Well,
I
you
get the
can
same
flex your time. I'm like, no, no, actually, I can't. I get up at 6 o'clock every morning. I get dressed. I have my routine, and I am usually in at my desk working by 8 o'clock.
Yep. I have
So,
a similar
no,
structure. I just do it out at coffee shops, so it looks like I'm not working. But uh, but
no,
man,
no.
I'm full
I
time
have
too.
my
I do.
office.
Yeah.
This is where I do all of my writing in my office, and technically my desk stands up. I don't use it as often as I should,
Oh,
but
I
I have a desk attached to a treadmill out of my living room. And so
ah,
normally what I do is in the morning after I've dealt with the four-footed starving creatures in my house who are absolutely sure I'm going to let them die. I will answer all of my emails and get caught up on everything while I'm walking on the treadmill in the morning. So usually by the time I get in here to the office, I've answered all the emails, I've checked social media, I've done my word games that I play in the morning. So at that point, I'm usually grabbing my schedule, working out what I want to do for the day, and then trying to get to work,
mhm.
usually. Or I'm
Busy.
staring at the computer going, my brain doesn't work.
Yep. It's always either really on or really off. That is the author life. All right.
Mhm.
Well, this has been a really fun hour. So, whenever the new shiny comes out, you're definitely coming back on. For everyone in the chat, thank you for joining us. I have just put all the relevant links back in the comments. So, if you want to try to enter for a Kindle and like 9 ebooks by us and a few of our friends, go for that. There's 3 different Facebook groups that it's in. You can also enter to win a signed copy of Exiles Refrain, or you can just go pre order it, which is also awesome.
There
So,
is, and there's the reader magnet that's there that's available for free.
I need to
You
reshare
can
that, I think. Where did it go?
go and
That does not
uh,
help because people can't click on it in the thing. I will get it somewhere. It's in the comments somewhere, guys. Go find it.
and note my reader magnets are usually not I think that one's 6,000 words.
It's like a little short story. They're
Like
bite
2 short
size.
stories.
They're fun size. But yeah, but
Yep.
thank you guys for coming. Thank you, Mel, for coming on, and this was a whole lot of fun. And so we will see all of you next time. Bye.
Hope remember to check me out at Dragon Con.
Yes.